how am I supposed to know like what you need if we're not having those conversations and finding out like what's important to you? You know, I set all my paperwork aside and it's just you and me. It's not like me typing over on a computer while I'm also having a conversation. I just want to, you know, get to know who you are. I said, well, hey, let me call the bank and let them know that you have insurance now. So I called the bank and I talked to the lady and she was like, you're so helpful. Can I get a quote too? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I quote her insurance. I ended up rating her the same day. And then she ended up sending me to her coworker. So I'm like, it's just that level of customer service. It's not just about getting the business, it's retaining the business too.
There you go.
I've had experiences with businesses and I might not be a customer right in that moment, but depending on how they treat me, I may never be a customer ever.
Welcome to Marketing Stuff. I'm excited for today's show. We have an amazing guest. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate your continued support and being part of my family. We're here to help you level up your marketing game in a way where you don't feel like you're drowning on all this marketing stuff. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you get all the notifications for the new episode. But let's cut all that other stuff. Let's dive in. Today, we have an outstanding guest. I've known her for so long. She's been doing this and building relationships with customers for nearly 2 decades. That's her thing. She's been creating relationships, but her superpower is she knows how to turn strangers into friends. So I want to welcome Danielle to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much. I love that. Yes, thank you, Maurice. That's a very warm welcome.
Yeah, because we love you, right? So Danielle. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So we have some questions for you today, and really what we're talking about is customer relationships, right? So talk to us a little bit, just like, let's talk a little bit about how we got to know one another, right? Like, how did we meet?
It's so funny you say that. I was telling somebody I was gonna be doing this with you, and he was like, well, how do you even know Maurice? And I'm like, wow, I actually you were working for Geico.
Yeah.
And you came in, I do insurance for my day job, and he came in as an internet lead. So I called him like, but you work for Geico. Why are you calling? Why are you looking for insurance? And so that's kind of how our relationship got started. So it's been, gosh, a little while, like 8 years, maybe longer.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely over half a decade, right? Like, because I've been kind of doing my own thing now for about 5 years, and you knew me, and I was, like you said, I was still working for Geico. I hadn't transitioned to Merrill Lynch yet. But the answer, if anybody's curious, I was working for Geico and getting insurance from State Farm because them home rates was cheaper. I needed a better home quote, right? Like, so that's real. But the thing that I will say that was just outstanding about you is that when I went into like do the application and stuff like that, like you went through and you made me feel like we knew each other, right? And I came back. I remember coming back one time just to say hi, and I'm like, I don't do this. This is weird, but it was because of you, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. And so my first question to you, when you're thinking about growing and developing a business, why is building customer relationships so important from your perspective as a nearly 2-decade veteran?
For me, it's never about the product. I mean, it's always about the relationship. I'm not selling insurance. I'm not selling a product to you. I'm trying to I don't want to say sell myself, but in a sense, yes, like we're building a relationship. How am I supposed to know like what you need if we're not having those conversations and finding out like what's important to you? And I mean, I could just go, yeah, okay, here's a list. What's important to you? What's this, But I prefer to just like dig in and ask, like, tell me about your family. Like, oh, what do your kids do? And, oh, my kids go to that school too. And, just really trying to find like, where's our commonality? Like, where do we connect? And what similarities do we have? Even with that conversation with you, I was a little nervous meeting with you because you did have insurance experience. And so I was like, okay, well, let's see let's see if I can impress him. And, and once I got, you were in there and we just got to talking, it felt like we were, just old friends. And it's not just you, that's how I want everyone to feel when I meet with them. I want them to feel like I set all my paperwork aside and it's just you and me. It's not like me typing over on a computer while I'm also having a conversation. I just want to, get to know who you are.
And where did that philosophy come from, as far as like this idea of it's just about, making friends and then letting the business or the insurance piece be secondary, even though like your paycheck, at that time relied on you being able to convert somebody?
Yeah, it was definitely an evolution, or like I evolved early on. You're just trying to learn the products. You're like, there's so much coming at you and you're just trying to learn. And so at the time when I first started working at State Farm, I worked with this amazing person named Melissa, and she was our customer service representative. And I mean, just how she handled the customers, like with just always a smile on her face, even in hard situations. And she was just always so bubbly and kind. And she's really my example of how I saw how she handled things. And when she left, I just kind of took that over and realized that's kind of the person that I wanted to be. So
Got it. Okay. So we know why it's important, but how do you go about doing it? Because I feel like even though you're like, I'm just trying to make friends, I feel like as many times I've seen you talk to people, right, when I was creeping in the office, I be listening to everybody, by the way. I'm trying to pick up nuggets wherever I go. It seemed like you have a process, right? You have steps that you're taking everybody through. So in a general sense, how do you go about, setting everything aside and then building those long-term relationships in a way that, a business owner can apply, and not just a business owner in insurance, but just in general? How can somebody take that and create a process if they don't have one?
One of the things I've learned over the years is just like smart talk. So even though I'm having conversations and I'm asking like, well, tell me about you, tell me about your family. Okay. So as they're telling me about their family, I'm like, okay, I know that they've got children. And in my case, I sell insurance. So I'm like looking for products that are going to fit into their lives. Okay. Well, life insurance is coming up. Okay. Yeah. Like where do you live? Oh, that's awesome. Do you own your home? Okay. He owns his home. Like, so every conversation I'm having, I might not be like, check this box, but I am asking smart questions. Instead of talking to people when I meet them and I'm just like, gosh, the weather, it's really cold out there today.
Right.
It's more like, hey, what's going good in your life? And getting people to, I want to hear about what's going good. I mean, next thing you know, they're telling me about, oh, well, my daughter just got married, or, we just had a baby recently. And all of those things are like life events for me to know, okay, that's a product that might be able to help them with. And when I say that even feels like, oh, because that's not like, I'm not thinking, oh, a product. Like I'm really, truly trying to get to know them. But the better I can get to know them, the better I can say, okay, now that we're sitting down and you're here to talk to me about insurance, this is what we have. This is how I think it can help you. And then you can decide, what, based off of what we have, what you think would work best for your situation.
Yeah, I know what you mean, though, when you say like, I'm asking questions and then listening like, oh, you know what, this would probably work for them. Or, you know what, that wouldn't work. You're going through this process of like qualifying and disqualifying people for different products or services based on the way they interact. If I'm honest with you, I do the exact same thing, right? It's like I'm talking to a business owner. I'm like, hey, how's business going? And they're like, well, we lost $30,000 last quarter. I'm like, oof, marketing strategy right now is probably not going to be the thing that you need, because you probably got some, cost consolidation that you need to do. I don't do that. Right. So let's figure out how we can let's figure out how we can get you back to whole. But I think what the point that you're making, though, that's in there is that you're listening for opportunities to best serve. And I think sometimes as business owners, we get so stuck in the how do I get someone to buy my stuff that we forget that, these are people first, then they're customers second. And if you look to serve the person, then they'll become a customer. And that can be so hard, again, when like, especially when you like, if you're not watching this on YouTube, you can't see, but everything in this room is a bill for me, right? I paid for it. And so when I see somebody that wants to use my services, it comes in my mind that that's an opportunity to subsidize all of this stuff, right? And so you can get to a place where you are hungry to drive someone to purchase your product or service, because you do need to keep the lights on. So how do you as a professional that, like, we haven't really talked about it, but you were in sales, like that was the thing that you were there for. How do you I don't want to say suppress that desire to close the business at all costs, because I don't think every salesperson is like that. But like, how do you let that, this person buying this thing changes what my check looks like? How do you sit that to the side when that check ain't checking?
Yeah. So this last year, last few years, I was an agent, and I was what we call a scratch agent. So I wasn't getting paid unless I was like selling a product.
Yeah.
And so it does go from, and prior to that, I was getting a salary plus commission. So it wasn't so, and I'm kind of grateful that I had that base, that it wasn't like I had to have that, because I still had that base. So that was kind of my training in that. And so when I transferred over into my new role, I saw how it was able to play out for me, that my relationships with customers, the more that they could trust me, because the way that I saw it was, first of all, I would put myself in a customer's shoe. Like, how do I want to be talked to? If I'm walking, like, for a car deal, like, who wants to go buy a car? Like, buying a car sucks. You go sit with the car, and I've had different experiences. I've had experiences where I just feel like they're trying to sell me something. And I've also had experiences where they're really asking me questions, and what are you looking for? Like, what's your timeline? Okay. And they're really trying to find what's best in my interest. And so I try to do the same thing. And so the way I also see it is, it's like me and the customer versus the company. And so I'm on your side. So what can we do together? And I don't know. That's just how I've done it. It seems to work for me, is just, like I said, building the relationship. And I've had customers that, even though our prices are more expensive, they'll switch to me just because they know I'm going to take care of things. And it's not just that initial conversation. It's every time they reach out to me, whether it's text, email. And that's the other thing. How do you want to be followed up with? Text, email, phone call? Okay, that's how we're going to talk. Like, however that, mirroring what the customer wants. And so, if they text me, I'm on it. And if I'm not going to be able to be on it right in that moment, then I at least give them an expectation of okay, I can't get to this right now, but tomorrow morning I'll make sure that's taken care of.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. The amount of times that, actually, I think you ended up helping me with my first home claim.
I think I did. Yeah.
And it was the process was a nightmare, but it wasn't because of you, right? Mm-hmm. I remember appreciating having this is coming from somebody that worked at Geico at the time. I remember appreciating not having the claim through Geico at the time.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to deal with an application, logging into my app and doing all those stuff. Technology is great, but that's not how I like to be served, right? I like having a person that I can call and just say, hey, this is broken. Can you fix it? I don't want to deal with all the extra stuff that goes along with it, right? That's more work for me, and I don't want that, right? So I'd rather pay a little more. And it's interesting because you said I've had people that go with me even though we cost more, and I think sometimes people say that and you're like, yeah, but does that really happen? And it's like, yeah, it does. It does. Legit. And going back to the beginning, our first question was, why is building customer relationship important? Well, at the end of the day, price is only a small factor. And when we really get into this stuff, especially for my service business owners or, any marketing professional that's listening to this, that deals with a service-based product, it's like the price really should be an afterthought, because that's the cost, but that's not the value that the customer is receiving. So, we have that bit of tangible stuff, but then we also have the next piece, which I'm willing to bet that you have built your business on this, and only because of who you are, but referrals, right? Mm-hmm. My assumption is you get a fair amount of referrals, or you did when you were going through the process of being a scratch agent, you could get referrals from people. Is that a fair statement to make?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. And there are a lot of business owners that really struggle with this, really do. And so I'm going to ask this question, but I'm going to semi-answer part of it. If you're not doing the first part and focusing on the people, then I think her response is not going to be as helpful for you. So that would be my first piece. But the big question is, how do you go about asking for referrals?
Well, first of all, if I'm just going to be selling here, buy this car insurance, and not building a relationship. And then I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, can you give me the name to your friends, or give them my cards? I mean, I'm not really doing anything for them, Right. And so, it really becomes supernatural as part of just the process. after we're kind of finishing up and we've already had a great conversation, and typically, like, honestly, Maurice, it's more people like, oh my gosh, I have a friend that they would be great for you. You just, help them save money, or you're so helpful, or I a lot of times don't even really have to ask. But typically, if I am going to ask, it's just a quick, like, yeah, if you know anybody that's looking for insurance, or if you know anybody that's like wanting to save money, it's just kind of I have had people in the past that, okay, can you write down the names and the phone numbers to 5 of your friends? And I personally, that might work for other people, but for me personally, that has just been really uncomfortable and kind of doesn't feel good. So yeah, that's the approach that I take. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a guy call me to get a quote. It was actually just something off the internet. I call him and he was like, yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. And I said, well, hey, let me call the bank and let them know that you have insurance now. So I called the bank and I talked to the lady and she was like, you're so helpful. Can I get a quote too? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I quote her insurance. I ended up rating her the same day. And then she ended up sending me to her coworker. So I'm like, it's just that level of customer service. It's not just about getting the business, it's retaining the business too.
There you go. That goes a really long way. I think, sometimes when we do talk about this asking for referral stuff, I think it gets missed that the work for asking for referrals is actually done before you ask, right? Like it's all about, again, putting the person first. And you said something interesting earlier. You said, it doesn't feel right to me, right? Like I want to do for someone what I would want to receive, and making sure that I'm communicating with them in a way that they want to be communicated with. And doing all of those things creates this environment of like genuineness, right? And I'd say like you elude this genuineness when I'm working with you. So I'll say for somebody out there that's looking for a system, Danielle's system as far as asking might not work for you, but all of the stuff on the front end as far as like putting the customer first, and then making sure that you are being mindful of how they want to be communicated with, and then making sure that you're doing the things to take work off of their plate, are the things that we're kind of like extrapolating out of what you're sharing with us, because those are things that are easily tangible across any industry, right? And we have to get to a place, especially as service providers, to how do I deliver something that someone just can't, take away. It's funny. So I was working with one of my clients here in the studio. For those of you that don't know, I run a podcast production company, and that's what we do. We help people produce podcasts and kind of coach them on how to improve their podcast. And so we finished an episode yesterday, and I was talking to them and giving them some feedback on some things in the show that I would want to see them do differently, and some things as far as distribution that they want to see, that I would want to see done differently in order to give them more bang for their buck. And like mid-conversation, they go, we've worked with other companies before and we've never had these conversations. And they were like, I don't know why we haven't had these conversations. And I'm like, I don't know either. I can only speak for what I want. And I want not only for you to work with me as a podcast host, but I want you to feel like the podcast is serving your business. And so I can't see something that is not serving you and not say something, right? And so that's just what my spirit is. And it's because of that spirit that I know if I called them right now and was like, hey, do you know anybody? Matter of fact, I know for sure that if they knew someone that was looking to launch a podcast, matter of fact, they've already sent me somebody that is interested, that I don't have to ask, right? And it's all that groundwork before. But there's definitely that process. So then the next question, right, is like, when do you go about asking for these referrals?
So kind of like you said, it's already everything I've done up until that ask is building that relationship. And it's not just about, as you're talking that communication, it's like just asking the right questions and listening. I think that's like the biggest part of what we're talking about here. But really just at the end of the conversation, Maurice, I don't really have some fancy system. I've heard of a lot of people in my industry, having lots of different systems that they use. Yeah. And again, like back to like what works for me isn't going to work for somebody else, and what works, right. Like just being true to myself is important. And so I just, at the end of our conversation, I'm like, hey, if you know anybody that's looking for insurance, or if there's somebody that you think that I could help or benefit, like, please, send them my way.
It's interesting, right? So you're like, I don't really have a system, but you do, right? And so the interesting part about what you just said, I'm assuming this is after the conversation of typically like you've done the quote and they've signed up and they're now your customer, right?
Right.
So let me help you solidify your system. You ask after the value's been delivered.
I like that. I'm gonna write that down.
So you've done all the work, and so here's the interesting thing, and I think sometimes we don't like thinking about it this way, but I hope that somebody listening can receive what I'm about to share. We have to think about all relationships as bank accounts, right? And we have to deposit. Our deposits are the value and the feelings that we have people feel through the process of working with one another. And so sometimes we try to withdraw too early. And so if you haven't done the work, which is putting the customer first, making sure they're being communicated the way they want to be communicated to, doing the valuable things that remove the work and barriers for them to be successful, creating that environment of genuineness, then when you go to ask, it doesn't matter when you ask, right? It's like, it's a bad time because your account's already negative, or you get, or the bank accounts, it's like you have to keep a minimum of $100. Like you got $10 and you asking for a $120 withdrawal. Yeah. And so like people are protective of, like, I think sometimes we forget the value of a referral, and not from our perspective as business owners, but from the perspective of the client. Like when I give you a referral, what I'm essentially saying is I co-sign on you as a person. Right. And like, if you suck as a person and you call my people or you reach out to my people and they have a bad experience, now every time I refer somebody, they're going to think about the time that they got a call from you. If we think about it in that regard, like, hey, you saying call Bill means that you think Bill's a good person, means that if Bill's not, then what does that say about you as a person? Right. So it's like, let's do. I have had so many business owners that are like, I don't understand why people won't refer. And when I'm like in their store or working with them, I'm like, being around you doesn't make me say, if I send somebody to you, I know they're going to get value from talking to you. Right. So with that in mind, like, how would you, if you were talking to especially, I don't think we even gave, I need to step my host game up. We didn't give the context of what your role is. Like, so now you've transitioned from what you called scratch agent back into a corporate role of coaching other agents. So like, if we were having this conversation and we were talking to an agent and they're like, I don't know, I get it, right? I'm your agent. I'm saying I get it that I'm supposed to do all these things and I'm supposed to make sure that I create this environment of genuineness. How do I get there?
As you were talking, it was kind of making me think of sometimes we focus so much on the sale that's all our focus can be on. So what if we just set the sale aside and like, what if we were okay with sending them to another company or another service? Like if that was the best option for them.
Yeah.
Because I've done that before. Like if I've quoted somebody and I'm like, this just isn't a good deal for you. Like I can't in good faith sell this policy to you unless you really want to, but I want you to know there's like, at least go check your options. If we're the best option, definitely come back. And also the fact that I've had experiences with businesses and I might not be a customer right in that moment, but depending on how they treat me, I may never be a customer ever. And so I would say that's like the other thing is if I can't write you right now, or if I can't help you right now with whatever it is that we're working with, I want you to still think of me in 6 months, in a year, when you're going back to like, hey, maybe I should check this out again. This accident fell off my record. Now maybe I would, be, better rated. And I always ask people too, I know now's not a good time, but do you mind if I follow up with you like in 6 months or a year? Like I always want to keep that door open. And even as customers, like I've had customers cancel, why are you, like I've had people say, why are you canceling for? And, get angry at me. And it's like every time a customer is called and canceled, oh, I'm so sorry. Like you have to leave, like what's going on? And really checking in with them, be like, well, that's all right. Like I get it. Stuff happens, like rates go up. Hey, can I call you in a year? Like, It's just so super important to like keep that friendship relationship open. for future situations. So,
but you know what you're saying right now, and I'm glad I can help you crystallize some of the things that you already know, right? Like you're already doing this stuff. But what you're saying right now goes back to it's about creating long-term relationships, right?
Yeah.
And I think I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was basically saying that I do my best to create friends with my clients, with my customers. At all costs, how can I turn this person into my ally, regardless of if it's okay to do business with me, right? Like I would rather, there's been plenty of people. Matter of fact, in 2021, I said no to more people than I said yes to, right? Folks that were ready to do business with me, but I wasn't right for them. This was right around the time. Actually, I set up your I did. I set up your Google My Business.
You did.
I was doing more
live.
Yeah. I was doing more like SEO stuff for folks. And one thing that I realized as a SEO is that like, this was a long-term thing, right? And if you weren't ready to invest and not see returns overnight, then like, I can't help you. Right? Like it doesn't even make sense for us to work together because I know that's not going to work. But here's some things that you might want to try that can potentially yield you better returns in 90 days. I still think that this is the best investment, but if this is not what you need, right, then I'm not going to sell this to you. Then the next question is, right, so you said something like really deep, that idea of how do we create or how do we leave the sell behind and then make it about, doing the work with the customer and creating these long-term relationships. So it can kind of be semi-redundant, but, how do we go about having these meaningful conversations and like articulating them in a way that is actually valuable for the business? Because one of the things that you talked about in the beginning of the show, you said, I like to have smart conversations. So how do we determine what a smart conversation is for our business, right? Because the smart for you as an insurance agent isn't necessarily smart for me as a marketing person. So how do you go about determining what's smart?
You mean in general or just for my industry?
We can talk about it for your industry and then kind of come back to it in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying earlier, is just having those conversations of like asking like about your family. Like I usually have a system where it's kind of like, first I'll ask about family. I'll ask about kids, parents, where everybody works, where they go to school, what they like to do for fun. And then I go to the other side of things where it's more like, okay, where do you work?
Right.
What do you do for a living? And we talk about like your home and your cars and, your investments. So, I mean, but we're not, if I talk about investments first, they're not going to give me a lot of information, so it's kind of like, I do have a process when I'm talking, I start with broad and I'm comfortable talking about my family and then kind of get into the more specifics and the more personal things like your money basically. So,
yeah. So where did those questions come from?
I took a training. It's like a boot camp training that I actually took. I can't quite remember the name of it, but that's kind of the system that they used. And so I kind of adopted it and used it as my own.
Okay. And then when you're thinking about it from an insurance perspective, is what made those questions so valuable?
It was easy. I was looking for something that's repeatable and something that felt simple to me. And I'm a very visual person. And so the way I have it like written out, it makes sense. And it makes it easy that like I said, it's repeatable and I can do it with everybody. And people are like, oh, can I get a copy of that? I'm like, yeah, sure. Here you go. So yeah, it's been helpful.
It's funny because like the system that you're laying out is just fantastic for any business. And I'm hoping I can kind of distill some of that down. Danielle is like this dynamic business owner and insurance professional that has so many nuggets to share, and you could apply so much of your stuff across any industry. So we're going to distill it down for my non-insurance folks, right? So you made a very distinct line that it needs to be a repeatable process, right? And I think that's so important because far too often when we are doing things like communicating or networking, we don't have a repeatable process. So it makes it so difficult. Matter of fact, I wrote a book in 2019, Introverts Finally Get to Networking, and I basically talked about how I was able to use my network to, at the time, get a job that then turned into like a 5-figure client for me later. Right. And it was using this repeatable process of when I'm networking, I'm trying to learn 3 things about people. And that was it. I just needed to learn 3 things, and they were the same 3 things for every single person. So it needs to be repeatable. You also said it needs to be simple. Like when you meet a stranger, like your brain, you might be the life of the party. I'm not, right? So like my brain, I'm nervous as all get out anytime I meet a new person. And so if it's not repeatable and simple, you'll forget. You'll forget. You'll go into like survival mode. I'm like, I'm just trying to get through this conversation without sounding like an idiot.
I've been there.
And then the third thing that you said was you have to be mindful of what you're asking in the order. Mm-hmm. Right? So like for my service providers, more than likely what you want to know is, do they need my services and can they afford my services? But they're not going to answer that question for you. Like they're not just going to give you like, hey, do you need a new website? Like, no, I'm good. I got a website. Right. So sometimes we have to, I hate to keep going back to it, but we have to think about the person first. Like that idea of how is business going? It sounds like such a basic question, but people love to talk about themselves. Mm-hmm. Right. So things like how's business going is kind of like how's the family doing, mm-hmm. right? So we can use that same framework that Danielle's talking about and just replace family with, business goals,
like what's going
like
on in your
finances.
business.
Yeah. Like, mm-hmm. But we can backdoor into it, right? Like I've met random people and they're willing, like by the end of our conversation, they're telling me, you know what, I'm actually down 10 grand. Mm. And it's like, most people are like, oh, how did you get them to tell you? It's like, honestly, I wasn't really trying to get them to tell me that. Like, that wasn't the objective. It was like, how is business? Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you meet your goals? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. Okay. Were you better off this quarter than you were last quarter? Doesn't sound like business is okay. Mm-hmm. So how is business really doing? Oh, I'm not doing too well. Okay. What do you think the problem is? And have them go through that. Okay, do you mind if I take a look and just tell you what I see? And then it gets really easy because now I'm all in your business. I'm all in your stuff. and you can't help but tell me because now, I've done website reviews. Actually, yesterday on live, I did a website audit, but I did it through like a branding perspective and talked about how somebody could reframe their whole conversation that they're having with their clients and customers. And it's like a freebie, right? I'm having fun. They're having fun. We're just loving one another. But if I called them after the call, I was like, okay, we need to get deep into this. They would tell me just about anything that I wanted to know. Right. And so the question then becomes, how do you deliver the value first in a way that is repeatable, simple, and mindful of the person that you're working with so that you earn the right to ask the questions that qualify them or disqualify them as a customer. So Danielle, that got heavy.
That was good stuff. You're preaching.
that got heavy for a second. I was like, ooh, that's heavy. That's heavy. Okay, so we are getting close to the end here, but the question that I have for you, the last question is, if a listener could only take away one thing from today's show, what would that one thing be?
It's really easy for me to say, just be yourself. I mean, that's what everyone says. And I didn't get it for a long time. And now I do. And it's like, just be yourself. Like, I used to think I had to try, that person's method and that person's method and that person. And yeah, you can grab nuggets that work for you, but you're you. So just be you and do what's right and feels comfortable for you. And just be enthusiastic. Bring the joy. I mean, people can see that. They can see the light within you. And, so yeah, that would be my biggest advice is just be the light.
Yeah, be the light. So I'm gonna challenge you a little bit and kind of dive into that just a little bit more. If someone is struggling to be the light, like, how do they go about finding themselves professionally to do what you're saying?
You've had a front row seat to kind of my growth, just the way I've had a front row seat to yours. Yeah. And I've had a lot. It hasn't just been all butterflies and rainbows. And I think that's the part that with people, is I'm not afraid to share the shitty things that have happened. Like I'm okay with, I'm an open book. I'll tell you, all the things. And so, as customers are sitting down, we're having conversations and they're telling me these hard things, I'm relating to them. Like, yeah, me too. Like, and I'll share a little piece about how I went through, like what I went through. And I have my friend, Monique, she said to me, she goes, every time I walk in the office, it's like you're having a therapy session. And I didn't think of it. And I'm like, God, you're kind of right. Like, cause we don't like, I'll talk about insurance for 5 minutes and for 45 minutes, we're just talking about life stuff. So to get to that point, it was a lot of inner work. Like I had to put in the work. And so I'm talking about like, there's some life changes I had to make. I started going to therapy. Like I got on medication. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what everyone needs to do, but that's what worked for me. And by doing that inner work and, self-help books, just anything that I could get my hands onto, because I was at a point where I was like, this can't, like, there's got to be something more than this, and always having that feeling like, well, yeah, that there has to be something more. And I'm living in a Groundhog Day. And this is literally the first time in my life where I feel like I wake up and I'm like, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I don't want to be somewhere. I don't want to move somewhere else. I don't need to find a new job. Like I am where I am in today. And that's a really good feeling. And again, it wasn't just something overnight. I don't know that it's a process that I can just give you and say, here, like, this is what you do. But the more you're willing to work on yourself, I think the better off you'll be.
Look at that. Do the internal work. I think that gets downplayed a little too much. So Danielle, I appreciate you so much. That is a wrap of the Marketing Stuff Show. Yeah, I appreciate you. We hope that you enjoyed today's nuggets. Make sure you don't miss out on a thing by subscribing to the show. And then in the description of the show notes, you can get access to a PDF copy of some of the things that Danielle was sharing. We can't wait for you to join us again on the next episode. We publish weekly, where we'll continue to bring you the latest and greatest in marketing. Again, thanks again for listening. And until next time, stay out here winning, yo.